Good morning, Greg here. Burn at both ends. Burn on the front end of Tuesday morning. It's June 26, 2018, 6:22 a.m. Pacific. And I can't say it enough about the Success Journal. It's just really just perfect for getting up, wanting to get in the day and looking right at what's in, what I've been working on, what I'm focusing on, what I've already checked off, where the work is. And a lot of times I'll notice I'll see a task done and I'm like, oh, and then there's a follow-up, and then I'll add that. And so what happens is, because I have one column with the focus items, and then a middle column with just tasks, and then another column with the success steps. And of course, the focus items and the success steps the focus items point to the success steps, and the successes, or the little tasks, are the things that get me there. And so it just kind of makes a lot of sense when I look at this thing, what needs to happen. Once again, I'm finding that just by going through it, I find a bunch of little tasks that I can just knock out right then and there. Excuse me. So I'm just really, really digging it. And then let's see what else I got. Something else about this burn at both ends kind of thing that I'm doing. I find, because I'm engaged throughout the whole day, right? So I have the morning burn and the late evening burn, but then of course in the middle, I'm engaged, right? I have morning burn, family, 9 to 5, family, evening burn, right? And I find that I'm constantly available to see what's going on, right? With this model, it's kind of like that leadership thing that I described. I can't think of a better word than thing. I guess not. With my men's team, right? So when I'm leading an event for my men's team, I cannot do anything in the trenches or in the weeds. I got to stay up top, got to keep it high level, got to watch the whole team, got to watch what's going on. It's kind of like that. It's just by having this burn at both ends concept, I find that I'm there to just kind of observe the landscape. And then I find that I'm very easily available to just do little 10-minute tasks that move things forward. I'll get a call from a high-level person where I work, and she or he will need something, and I'm right there to do it. And I just find that to be very empowering for me, just being there, being able to execute. Whereas if I didn't have this burn at both ends schedule, I might be a lot further from that. And I really like that. And it's not just in business, it's in it's with my family. I'm there for my wife more, I'm there for my kids more, I find. And just being able to deliver on all these fronts. And that's why in my Success Journal it's so important. Even though it's just 2 items, the top 2 items are my wife and then my kids, and make sure that I'm focusing on them for the week. And that reminds me, I got to make sure I got to set up a lunch for this week with the missus, even though she has events. Maybe Friday will work well. I'll have to check that out. But see, this is it gets me, I don't know why I'm pointing my ear, but it gets me thinking about this stuff. It's very important. Because right, as T. Harv says, right, what thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which lead to results. And so the fact that I'm just thinking about this stuff is great. And then I also want to just mention I put a little comment post here in LinkedIn under an article about burnout, about burning out. And this really ties to what I'm doing right now, because right now there is certainly a risk for me burning out because of this I-Corps program. There's just infinite work with the I-Corps program, and then plus I have my other work projects that are also demanding, but then I also have my side projects and the family. And so with all these things, right, so how does one avoid burnout? And this is something that I've put out before, is asking for help. And so, for example, with my HPD project, I had some drawings to knock out. I asked for help. It's uncomfortable asking for help for many reasons. One, just because a lot of us, and I feel this as well, it's I'm admitting that I can't do something. I'm admitting weakness, and which is not necessarily true. Sometimes it's I am observing a bottleneck. I am looking into the future and seeing a problem a week from now and solving it today. So, you can kind of spin it in either direction. But I think most of us see asking for help as admitting a weakness. I can't do something. And so I asked for help to get these drawings done. Get a little drink of my bubbly water. Oh, I love that bubbly water. That lemon is just perfect. The delegation thing. And so, but the way that I'm choosing to see it is I'm able to now do more. I'm able to get more moving in, forward, more moving in parallel. I'm able to leverage someone else. It's a leadership quality, right? Asking for help, because now I have to fold this person in to the project. I have to, reveal critical details. I have to lead. I'm going to lead by action. That's how I do things. I'm not much of a big talker, even though I have this YouTube channel. But I lead by action. I show, and I think it's working well, because this gentleman is doing a great job with these drawings. I just checked them last night, redlined them. And I put him back into a smart sheet, and hopefully he'll have no problem accessing that and seeing my comments. So back to this post. So the post, essentially, it was an article about burnout, and then I just did a few sentences on my experience, what I do. So I said, in my experience, the arts of delegation and trust are key to avoiding burnout. Then package that with healthy doses of patience and empathy, and it can add tremendous leverage to staying in the game and remaining fresh. I totally believe that. So by delegating, I move things off my plate. I move myself into more of a leadership role, a higher level role. It forces me to think bigger, which is great. And then trust. Now I'm going to trust this person to get the job done. And as a matter of fact, there was he in the first day or two of me giving him some work, he asked some questions, and my knee-jerk reaction was to kind of take control of something. And I even typed an email, and then I erased it, and I said, you know what? Let me let him do this. Let me just completely trust him to do these drawings. This guy's a professional. He's been doing this for a while. Let me just let him just do what he does. Why should I micromanage the drawings? So anyway, I erased that email, just said, hey, do it the way you think is best. And he did, and I saw the resulting drawing, and it was great, so no problems there. And then this whole healthy doses of patience and empathy. So I find with the patience part, this can obviously reduce the stress on so many different levels, right? If I'm patient and I'm deploying empathy, right? So someone comes back to me with bad news or a delay, so empathy will help me kind of just take that bit of information and kind of digest it properly, as opposed to get all annoyed about it or angry or anything. Just empathy. All right. And then patience. Okay, cool. Let's correct and continue. Let's solve this problem if it's a problem. Let's redelegate or ask for more help, or maybe take a step back and then reanalyze how we're attacking this problem. So, and because I find that, when things go sideways, it's those initial steps, it's that initial reaction that really, I think, either puts me in a really positive space or in a really negative space. And the negative space would just be like stress or being annoyed or getting frustrated. So it's and these can be subtle things, but what I find is that they can build during the day, right? So you have one thing happen in the morning, and all of a sudden you kind of get stressed and you're up a couple points, and then another thing happens, and then now I'm more sensitive, and I'm more easier. It's easier to agitate me, and then another thing happens, and then now all of a sudden by lunchtime, 3 or 4 things have happened, and I'm at this elevated state of being stressed and frustrated and impatient. And so it's hitting that very first thing that comes across. That's not what I wanted, or not what the project wanted, or not the best thing, or not supportive, however you want to say it. And it's hitting that first one and be like, all right, calm down. Right? Empathy, patience. How can we solve this problem? Do we need more help? Was it a communication problem? It's most likely a communication problem. That's typically what happens. Is an email is misinterpreted, or there's a lack of communication, or it should have been a phone call and not an email, or it should have been an in-person meeting, whatever it is, right? So that first thing happens, calm down, patience, empathy, You know, what? How do we solve this problem? Okay, and then the next one comes, and now I'm not at this elevated state anymore. I'm chilled out down here. And also, you know, think about this. So that this thing comes across that's not what I wanted, or not what the project wanted, and how long does it take me before it rattles my cage and then I'm back onto what I was working on before? Because that's a critical piece. Is okay, so this thing came in from, you know, from the side. I got to handle it. How long does it take me out of what I was doing to handle it? And you can imagine that if there's stress, if there's frustration, that takes time. It takes time to be stressed. It takes time to show frustration, right? Mentally, it removes me from what I was working on. So it's like almost like a double-edged sword in how it slows down my progress. And so, you know, I typed that when I was on BART train, and the more I think about it, the more I really like it. I really think, right, delegation and trust, and then patience and empathy. I really dig those four, and it is tough. I am working on them because, you know, the patience part is the hardest thing, because that's the first thing to go, right? When I learn about something that I don't like, or that is not supportive, at least I think is not supportive, the first thing that I go to is becoming impatient, right? It's because I think about, you know, because I jump to the past or I jump to the future, right? I don't stay in the present. And this is something I'm working on. So stay in the present. All right, this is happening right now. How do we solve this right now? What resources do we have right now? What resources do I need to get in the near future to help solve this? You know, so on and so forth. So, this is super critical. Yeah, so delegation, trust, patience, empathy. These are four wonderful things to help reduce stress and, you know, stay in the game, because the whole point is a lot of times, and I'll do this too, is I think I need to disengage from the process to reduce the stress. Whereas what I really find is solving these problems and getting ahead of the curve and being on top of my patience and being on top of that empowers me. That reduces stress, right? Because if I just step away from the game, that problem is still going on. My impatience is still there. I did not diffuse it. So it's now, of course, sometimes taking a break and vacation, that's different, you know. But as far as like staying in the game during the day and not disengaging, because that, you know, I see that happen is, you know, and I've been right there with it. Someone, you know, meets some resistance, the stress pops up. Now all of a sudden they need a 2-hour break because, you know, they were already at an elevated state. They hadn't been taking themselves, right? This is also why I'm really focused on my diet and my health. My paleo diet's going great. I've been banging out some little strength exercises. I'm actually still a little bit sore from that. And haven't been biking as much because I've been working from home, but I'm going into the office Thursday and Friday, so I'll bike then. But anyway, so all these things are critical. They, all this activity is critical to being able to diffuse the impatience on that front end. So anyway, really digging that post. Kind of proud of myself for that one. Sounds pretty good. And I'm seeing it, play out in my day to day. There are lots of opportunities with the iCore and with my other projects to get frustrated, to get stressed. And I'm really finding that I'm getting much better at staying in some, I don't say indifferent, but like a neutral state, like observing the kind of craziness come by me and not get caught in. So I just think that's working really well, and really it's showing progress. I'm proud of myself because I'm showing progress in moving in this direction and getting control of this, because this is so critical. Because that is probably, if I were to say, my biggest flaw would be my impatience. Because the impatience leads to so many bad decisions. It leads to frustration. It leads to anger, snapping at people. It's the precursor to so many just unsupportive things that I can do. And so by nipping it on the very front end of that and going, all right, deep breath, patience, empathy. All right, let's get into solution. Because what I'm realizing is that the person that brings the problem wants to help solve the problem. Right, or that created the problem. I mean, none of us sit there and do this intentionally. I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. I mean, if people on the team are intentionally causing problems, then that's that's a whole different thing to address. But if everyone's, putting in good work and their intentions are supportive for the project, then it's really very difficult to get too upset with someone that's really trying. And a lot of times, I have to admit, it's the communication or it's the system, right? There's a lack of a process, right? That's, and that's one of the greatest leadership pieces of advice I've ever gotten is, don't criticize the person, criticize the process. And typically there's a lack of a process. That's typically what it is, or it's just not clear. What do I do now? I've done these 3 things. I don't know what to do now. And so I'm going to do number 4 the best way that I think, and then I find out the hard way that that's not what is the best, and so on and so forth. So usually there's a lack of a process, and so, mistakes are typically a good excuse for training. I also find it's a good excuse to kind of really switch up the communication and move in the direction of a more personal kind of connection-based communication, right? So break away from email, pick up the phone, go talk to somebody, go walk around to their desk and get in front of them, because it's kind of like how we get in our cars and we're so quick to give someone the middle finger or yell at someone for cutting us off, or we are so quick to do that. Whereas think about it, when you're walking in the mall or you're walking down the street and you're walking one way, another person's walking towards you, and you're both going into the same store, for example, would you ever sprint the last 5 steps to get in front of them? You would never do that, right? You would, if anything, you would pause and let them go first, and you would probably even open the door for them, and you would say hi to them. That's probably what would happen. You would never sprint and elbow them out of the way to get into the store first, like it's Bed Bath & Beyond or Starbucks or whatever it is. You would never do that. But in our cars, we're always doing that, right? You're on the highway, someone's trying to get on. Instead of making room for them, we speed up and make it difficult. And then we beep our horn and then they get pissed off at us. And I mean, it's amazing how we as humans we so quickly can hide behind these silly things like email, right? Like a lot of people on Twitter, on Facebook, they'll write these comments that they would never say in person, right? There's some protective shield behind this computer screen, and so anyway, so when things go awry, switch up the communication, get on the phone, get face to face. This creates a much better connection, and it allows 2 people to have a conversation as opposed to just typing things through an email or through some chat. So I find that helps tremendously. Let's see, anything else going on today? We should have those drawings done in a day or 2, most of them. Checked a bunch of them last night. They look fantastic. Very minor tweaks, and this is where this gentleman is going to find out how anal I can be on drawings. But this is a good thing. This is this meticulous kind of detail-oriented engineer in me, and I find drawing, because drawings are the contract, right? Drawings are the thing that we're putting down. That's the contract between the engineer and the fabricator. And therefore, all these little subtle details are important, because it's kind of like insurance. It's like you really don't know how good your insurance is until you get into a car accident, and then you call them up, and then they come out and they look and go, "Oh, you're not covered for that. You see, paragraph 18, section 2, sentence 3, it says that, right?" But you'd never know that beforehand, even if you read the whole thing. So I find drawings to be, I'm especially anal on drawings, but it's a good kind of anal. And it also, what I hope to establish with this person is a rapport on how, the standard that I like drawings to be at. And we all have different standards there, and mine are pretty high, because I really believe that they are the word. That is what we're trying to communicate. There is nothing else really. I mean, there's a 3D model, but that can be tough sometimes. So it's all about the drawing. And I think that's today's post. So this channel is all about my journey as an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm having a great time with this burn at both ends thing. I'm really finding a lot of value in these posts. I'm finding lots of value in this kind of quicker method that I'm using to post. I'm pretty much just looking at the success journal, reviewing that, and then getting right into a post. Today I'm doing a lot of pointing for some reason. I don't know why. What am I pointing at? I'm pointing at the other screen where the success journal is. It's up there. Well, it's kind of in a cloud somewhere. I'm just looking at anyway, different story. So success journal, I'm going through that, and then it's just filling my mind with all the things that are on my plate. And then the post comes out, and I always look for some little nugget in the post. And so these are the things I'm using for success. This iCore program is great. I can't overstate how incredible yesterday was with the interviews, and how much time we've saved if we did not go through this process. I should have a whole post about that, just the time that we've saved in just a couple weeks that we've been doing this, just the 30 some odd interviews that we've done. Where we are now, what we learned yesterday is so critical to our success. It's just amazing. So, and I couldn't imagine not doing this, and we would probably be way down the road on some wrong path at this point. And then you start involving investors, and now you start wasting time and money. Oh, jeez. So glad that we're doing this, and that's the funny thing, is that we're not even really going to start a company. This is mostly an extra. I mean, it's a real technology with a real application, but the chances of us really spinning out a company, I think, are pretty low. I'm not really sure about that. We'll see. One gentleman is retiring, so he'd be in a great spot to be part of a company. That would remove the conflict of interest that we have. I would certainly be interested in doing such a thing, but of course, I mean, we cannot stop this iCore process. I mean, even when the course is over, if we keep going, we need to continue on this, because this is turning up some critical pieces of information. So I'm all about lean startup, all about iCore customer discovery. It works. There's no doubt about it. I'm thrilled that we're doing it, and I'm learning so much in the process. So this is all about my life, my journey as an aspiring entrepreneur. Subscribe, comment down below. Tell me how it's going for you. Tell me what you're up to. Ask questions. Give me some problems to solve. I love to be of service. That's a big piece of this channel, is I want to be of service. And that's it. So what I got down below, I found some new music. This band called Black Venus. I had it written down somewhere, but from Paris. Oh, just digging it. So there's a link down there. There's some other mixes I have on SoundCloud. Here's some motivational videos down there. Things that really got me on this path for 2018. And what else I got? Beat in the background is Afrobeat inspired by a fellow hoodie. Excuse me. G Money is my alter ego. I've been playing drums for a few decades, so I write these drum beats. Check them out on SoundCloud. And I think that's it for this morning. So, healthy post. Really digging this iCore work. Really, really excited about delegating and moving the other projects forward. Oh, and by the way, so if you remember, I think it was like mid-April. Actually, that might have been before I started posting. Actually, it was. I was put on this proposal team, and we were proposing for several $1 million in funding, and we're going to get it. So we were doing the final tweaks yesterday. I had one request. They wanted just to see a couple extra things, and so I banged it out, and it looks like we're getting this money. So that's fantastic, and so real proud of that. Psyched to be on that team. And essentially what that does is I believe that is, essentially gives me 2 years of paid work at my company, right? So essentially, I'm kind of self-funding in a way, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm going to get rolling. You all have a great day. Go out and inspire people, do great things, and crush it. Practice the patience, practice the empathy, right? Reduce the stress. Don't get in that elevated state, right? Breathing is important. So, so go out and do great things, and I will see you tonight.